Hey everybody, welcome to a new video of amazing Mac stuff. Today we're going to talk about how to create an infinite terrain. So something that looks like this. So it's a terrain, something like kind of a ground with some asperities that moves in our direction or in the other direction. So it looks we are actually moving on this terrain. And I'm doing this video because this was a question from one of my patrons. So I felt in order to answer what is the best way to do actually a tutorial about it. So I already released a patch that does this, but never made a tutorial about it. So I'm going to do this tutorial just now. Okay, so let's put this away and let's start. So first of all, you need our usual Jitter world and camera thing. And I will call it a game as I do for every patch. It's just the name that I gave it to this context once, and this just stuck around. So the name of the context of the GL context is game. Then we got the camera, Jitanim, stuff we don't need actually, and the Jitter world with a couple of attributes. Then we send here the bang out of the Jitter world from here. Very well. Let's now start by creating a JIT which is the object that we will use to create the actual terrain. So only with one plane, float 32, and dimensions, let's say that we wanted dimensions 300, then two cells for the second dimension, and then one cell for the third dimension. Now, why are we using 3 dimensions? We are actually going just to use 1 dimension in the end, but it's 2 dimensions we need because we are going to use the offset only on the third plane, which gives us a bit kind of a better transition between the noise values. If we use the offset on the third plane, for example, we can take a look at it actually. Let's first decide for a basis. We are going to use a fractal basis, so we're going to use fractal hetero. And we can also, this is going to be it. Okay, so if we connect this here and we create like a counter in order to offset the values inside our matrix, our noise, our fractal noise. So we're going to need a counter. So let's divide this, for example, by 400. And let's say offset. And as said, we are going to offset on the third plane, and then we output a bang in order for the object, for the JTPFG, to output a matrix. So let's connect this here. What am I doing? Okay, let's connect this here, and let's actually connect the receiver here, receive metro here to the counter. So now if we start the world, we can see that we got a matrix of 2 dimensions vertically. Actually, this is a 3-dimensional matrix. The third dimension is only 1 cell though. And you can see that we are offsetting the texture, the noise, going through the third axis, the third dimension. If we were offsetting, for example, on the second dimension, it would have looked something like that. Let's actually do 1 second, something like 300 by 300. Okay. So if we offset on the Y, so on the second dimension here, you can see that it kind of moves toward up. If we offset on the first, you can see that it moves sidewise. So actually, to not have any kind of movement, we offset through the third axis, which then it looks just we are going through it, kind of frontally. So it's kind of we are traveling inside a cloud, and this cloud is our noise values. Okay, so let's stop that. Because this matrix is really big to generate for the for JTBFGs, so let's go back to have only 2 cells on the second dimension. So we're only interested in having this first dimension, this first 300 cell of the first dimension. So let's use a JIT submatrix to just get those the first dimension. Okay, so as you can see, we now have only the first 300 cells. So only on 1 dimension. As you can see, before was 2 dimensions. and now it's only 1. So this is gone. Since we actually need to create a vector tree going out of this JIT that I just created, we actually need a matrix with 3 planes as an input. So because whatever comes in goes out, so if a matrix with only 1 plane will come in, we will have only a matrix with 1 plane going out. We need actually a matrix with 3 planes. So let's actually, I don't know, we can even use a JIT pack with 3 inputs. So this will put these values inside all the planes of this matrix. So we now have a matrix that has 3 planes. Now inside JITgen, we have to create like a row that is going to be a row of our terrain. So let's delete that. And so we are going to do it like this. Signal normalized coordinates is just going to create signal normalized coordinates between 0 and 1, only for the x, because we have only 1 dimension. So the signal normalized coordinates will contain only 1 value. It's a vector. It's actually not even a vector. It's just a scalar. So we're going to connect this to the x. Now, if we would output this just like that, and then connect this to a JIT GL mesh. So let's say game. Let's say lighting enable, 1 color white. And let's leave it at that. Oh, let's actually also, let's not leave it at that. Let's give it also auto normals 1. So it will generate its own normals for the light. So if we connect these to the input, let's see, we don't get anything because this is just a line. So if we say like draw mode, instead of 3 grid, we say like lines. Let's say lighting enabled 0. Oh yeah. So if we say lighting enabled 0 and then we set it to lines, then we can see that we're actually drawing just a line. So let me reset. We're just drawing a line here horizontally in front of us. So let's actually go back to 3 grid. Let's say lighting enable on. So what we want to do now, and this is the secret of this kind of terrain thing, is to use a JIT concat object and set the concat dim to 1, which means basically vertically. So how does this object work? Basically, it outputs a matrix and then attaches the matrix that comes from the right at the bottom of this of the matrix that comes out. So if we do something like this, if we create another matrix, let's say 3, float 32, and 300 by 300, for example, and adapt 0, this is very important, this matrix never gets bigger than that. Then the matrix that gets out of here, which is a matrix with is a matrix that has dimension 300 by 2. Should actually be 300 by 1. I think by 2 because it's already concatenated. Exactly. So if we attach this here, now you can see that this matrix is 300 by 300 became. And the last matrix that, the last row, basically that comes in, it's going to be the last one on the, it's going to be the last one at the bottom of this matrix that comes out. So the row that comes in from here is going to be the last one that comes out from there. So this is all good. So what we want to do now, let's actually take a look again with draw mode lines. So yeah, so it's just going to draw these lines. It's just going to basically take the same row, the same matrix that come here, and basically accumulate it on the bottom. But since the matrix has always the same values, because it's just the values of the signal normalized coordinates, it's not going to do much. So if we do then something like that, JIT op, and we say op pass for the first plane, which means don't do anything to the first plane, pass for the second plane, and then plus for the third plane, which is the zeta value. And then we give it like a value, for example, 0.4. This means that at every frame, exactly, at every frame is going to add at 0.4 to all the cells of the matrix that came in from here on the Z. So this matrix come in from Jitter gen, goes inside JIT concat. JIT concat basically concats this matrix to the matrix that it already had inside, which was this big one, 300 by 300, and then the new matrix goes inside this 300 by 300. To everything gets added a value of 0.4, and so on and so on. So now let's see what we can do with that. If we take the input one, and let's say it's width x, because this is a 3-plane input, and we use this for the epsilon, whoa, then you can see that we start to get something interesting. Now this is a bit too narrow, so let's multiply this for something like 20. Boom, then we have a big terrain. Alright, now it's a bit too fast, which means we can reduce the speed of that by reducing, for example, this value here. And now it's a bit slower. And as you can see, we are getting different values that gets kind of passed on continuously. And the zeta value gets always increased. So this creates kind of a sliding of the terrain. Sliding of the terrain. So now the terrain is not really interesting because we're using actually a fractal hetero. We can try, for example, with the scale value of the basis. Alright. Okay, so we're getting something, but the really interesting thing, if we actually use the property of the fractal basis of basically layering another basis. We can use, for example, as another basis, a noise simplex. Now to do that, we have to give it the message set at basis, which will actually, so let's say prepend set at basis. So this set at basis will set the basis for an internal noise that we don't see, but it can be layered to a fractal noise. So we can do like this. Let's say basis noise.simplex. This is the basis that we are going to layer. I wrote something wrong. Yes, set at. Completely forgot. Big part of it. Okay, so no, still wrong. Just one error more. So alright. So now if we set with set attribute basis, we can see that we got something going on. Basically the noise is being layered to the fractal noise. So the simple noise has been layered to the fractal noise. Okay, so let's get this thing under control. First of all, we need to give it a couple of parameters to the basis, to the second basis that we got here. So we need the detail, the roughness, and the lacunarity. So these are all parameters to the Perlin noise. Typical parameters for noise algorithms. And with those parameters we can get a better result. Let me actually delete those matrices here. Okay. For example, the detail. So we can see what these parameters do here. If we go in the ALP file of the GBFG and the last tab, which is fractals, we can see that details is the number of octaves. So how many times we are going to layer this noise, basically. And this we can set, for example, to 2.7. Those values I already experimented it with, so I'm kind of know which values we can get, but you can experiment with them, of course, on your own. The fractal increment is the roughness, which basically means how much, it's a bit like a weight, I will say. So let's set this to 1.5. And the detail is how many, let me see. The detail is, the detail is the number of octaves. I think I said the lacunarity was that before, sorry, was a mistake. So the lacunarity is basically the spacing or gaps between the octaves. So how much, I suppose this is going to be how much the octaves affect the octave below them. So detail, let's go to put something like 8. And we are starting to get somewhere. Now the thing here is that this is too it's a bit too narrow. I think it's because of the scale. It's definitely because of the scale. So let's put the scale a bit down. Okay. Alright, then we are getting somewhere. Yes. Yes, that's basically it. That's basically the result I like the most. Of course, we can play a bit with the roughness. Ooh, not too much. Not too much. We can play with the linearity and see what actually changes. So this is going to make it a bit more kind of smooth. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the number of octaves. Yeah, I think 8 is a good number. Right, I will even create a preset here because I like these values, so I will save the preset here. I will even put a loadmess 1. So when we open the patch, the preset is going to be automatically loaded. And very well, now let's make it a bit better in terms of lightning and stuff. So as you can see, we got a nice sliding terrain. Now, the thing is that it starts from 0, so let's actually offset it a bit on the z-axis in order to push it a bit back. So let's go inside JitGen and, for example, say like -40. Okay, so now it will start from down there and then slide all the way here. So if we reset the camera, okay, we can see that we are basically almost at the beginning. Yeah, which is kind of good. I think we don't even need so many cells on the zeta value, so let's actually just put 100 cells and see what's going on. And then let's not offset it so much. No, okay, it was actually needed. This was actually needed. So let's go back to 300 cells. Very well. The more cells, of course, is gonna make this patch a bit heavier. But this value seems pretty okay. Can I make it a bit larger by multiplying this, for example, by 30? And yeah, this looks a bit better. Cool, let's connect now. Let's create actually a fog. So let's connect the GGL material to this object to make it look a bit better and create the fog effect. And let's use the specular model word, which is one that I really like. So zack. Okay, that's pretty nice. Let me reset the camera 1 second. Up. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty nice. And let's actually make it slide a bit faster by making this value a bit bigger. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so now let's use now the fog. Oh, for some reason I'm on GL2, but I'm sure this works also on GL3. So yeah, let's use the fog. So let's say fog linear, because on GGL material you have to say fog. You cannot just say 0 or 1. You have to say actually if you want linear, exponential, and so on. Then let's use some fog params. So the first fog params, if I remember correctly, is the colors. So this will be gonna red, green, and blue. So since we want black, we're going to say red, green, blue, and 1 I suppose is the alpha. Then I think another number here is the density of the fog, which we are setting to 1. Then this is the number is where the fog should start. So let's say at 2. And this is where the fog should start. Let's say at 60. Okay, so this is not completely working. So let's do one thing. Let's copy those parameters and then put them here in the object as well. But here instead of linear we just write 1, and now it works. So for some reason, this I already experimented with, I kind of got that you have to give the fog parameters both to the jet material and to the object when you want to have fog. I'm not sure if this is really how it is, but this is kind of what I found it works. So let's actually set this value to 10, because this means that the fog will start a bit later, so a bit around here. And yeah, this looks pretty good. So let's go full screen. Alright, this looks pretty good. Let's play a bit with the light. let's play a bit with the light, and we can even also play a bit with this value, with the counter. So the slower this goes, the faster this goes, the more value is going to be accumulated close to each other. So we have this kind of effect exactly. And if we have something like 200 or 400, then it's going to be more evenly spaced. I think 400 was a good value. Okay, let's play a bit with the light. So let's get a GGL light game of type directional. And let's try to rotate it a bit and try to get a better lighting. So let's get rotate X, Y, Z. And let's try to move this light a bit around. Oh yeah, this is pretty nice. This is pretty nice. Gets all these very, very nice highlights. Oh yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that's what I was wanting to see. That's pretty cool. Maybe we can reduce a bit the linearity here in order to have it not so smooth. No, sorry, I meant actually making it... No, I meant to maybe increase the roughness. Let's see what we get. Increase a bit the roughness. Oh, yeah, the roughness gets explosive very soon, so be careful with that. No, the roughness is kind of okay. Let's keep it down. Okay, let's go back to here. Let's maybe augment the scale and see what we get. Yeah, nice, 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 nice. If we make the scale bigger, we get a bit more details. So the scales is the scale of the hetero passes, not of the noise simplex. So this will give us a bit more details. Let's actually use a load bank for the noise simplex, and yeah, I think that's it. Let's maybe save those values for the rotation, so hard code them. Rotate X, Y, Z minus 77, 103, minus 35, and that's it. Yeah, I suppose this is it. This is the result we achieved. So this is the running terrain that my patrons asked me about. So yeah, this was it. Thank you for following the tutorial. If something is unclear, please ask me. I will try to find time to answer. And of course, if you wish to become a patron of mine, you can join my community and get access to all my shared patches there. Get access also to the Discord channel. And in any case, thank you for watching and see you in the next video. Stay safe and see you soon. Ciao.